What's up, everybody? Matt Kajeski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel, talking some college basketball props via No House Advantage for February 1st, Wednesday slate. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. If you're listening on podcast, please leave a rating and review as well. And the sponsor of our show is No House Advantage. They have a first match deposit bonus up to $100 when you click the link in the video description below. And they have a number of ways you can play these player props. They have the traditional versus the house tool, which is you making lineups of player props. And these numbers will move throughout the day, so sometimes you want to lock them in earlier. But if you play 5 of these player props in a lineup, you can make up to 21 extra entry fee. That's what we'll be going over today. But they also have a pick'em contest function, which is more of a tournament style contest, you versus other people with massive prizes up top, up to $25,000. And they're often not filling, which means you have a better chance of taking down that prize. So make sure to check out No House Advantage. We're going to do just that right now, talking some college basketball, hitting the prop streets via the Verse the House tool. And first thing we'll talk about is this Penn State-Purdue game. You are seeing Andrew Funk under 13.5 points. This starts out from a mathematical perspective. Penn State is a 10-point underdog to Purdue in a game with a 134 total. This means Penn State is implied for 62 total points, and 13.5 is quite a bit for a team projected this low. Not to mention, it's one of the worst stylistic matchups you could have for a team. Purdue has a enormous size advantage over Penn State with Zach Edey, and Penn State plays without a true big in most of their roster configurations, depending on who's on and off the floor. They're outside the top 300 in height. And Purdue, they're number 1 in height, a lot of that having to do with Zach Edey, the monster he is, putting up shots. So first of all, this comes from a mathematical perspective. You just don't have a lot of points to go around. But then you also have a stud in Jalen Pickett, who's going to take most of the shots when games are competitive. Pickett has a 24% shot rate. It's still 24% over the last 3 games. Funk comes in second at 17%. Close behind is Seth Lundy at 16%. So you can see this is kind of close. And it's a scary fade for sure, but this comes down to mathematics more so than stylistics here, with Purdue having a severe advantage over Penn State. We actually have Andrew Funk projected around 11 points, giving this a bit of value here. The second one is actually going to be in the same game, and it's kind of for the opposite reason. Purdue is such a massive favorite. Their implied team total is 72 points. And again, you have a massive stud in Zach Edey. He's taken 35.5% of the shots in the last 3 games. That's at 24% on the year. Makes sense. He has an advantage over most players on the floor. And that is still the case when you look at this matchup. But Foster Loyer is the player I want to talk about here, over 12.5 points. In terms of shot rate, he's second on the team really across the board. He has an 18.5% shot rate on the year. The next closest is Braden Smith at 11%. So you basically have 2 shot makers on this team. You have Edey inside, and he can kick it out to Fletcher Loyer, not Foster Loyer, former DFS great Foster Loyer. We're talking about Fletcher. Excuse me there. Fletcher has a 18.5% shot rate on the year, and it's still the case over the last 3 games. It's at 17%, but in that span, no other player other than Edey has a shot rate higher than 9%. So essentially, you have 2 shot makers in the team, and sometimes teams will come into games and they'll just let Edey decimate them. And it's a surefire way to lose games. Or they'll try to dedicate extra resources to him, which has opened up Loyer on more than one occasion this year. Mathematically, this is one that points towards the over. We've been projected right at 14 points. Stylistically, again, you have the Edey mismatch. That can actually open things up for Loyer himself. This is one we'll look towards the over. Next one. We're going to scroll down a little bit here, looking at the Providence-Xavier game. Right now, we have Devin Carter at 14.5 points. This is one we're projecting towards the under here. And the biggest thing in this particular game is you have the return of Jared Bynum. Now, this doesn't necessarily affect Devin Carter directly in terms of Carter's minutes are going to drop or anything like that, but it does peripherally affect his statistics because Jared Bynum is a player who has the highest usage rate on the team. Now, he's been out for a number of games. He's appeared in their last 2. His numbers are ascending. He played 11 minutes in his return. That number jumped to 24 in the most recent game. And again, it's not going to really pull Carter off the court himself, but it is going to sap some usage here. On the year, that 17.5% usage rate, a lot of that comes via shot rate. 11.5% on the year still for Jared Bynum. He's going to be coming in and taking a lot of shots from the other players on this team, especially the guard position. So you're going to see players like Noah Locke and Devin Carter. Their shot rates are going to drop here, presumably over the course of the year. You'll see some fluctuation game in and game out. So when we start bumping up the Jared Bynum minutes, which we did a little bit here, we brought him up to 27. The rates drop for all the other players, including Devin Carter, who has the biggest drop and the biggest mismatch here. We even projected around 12.9, 12.7 points in between that range. And last one, we're going to go to an assist prop in maybe one of the better low-key games on the slate. Pittsburgh taking on North Carolina. This is a rematch. Pitt actually won the first game by 2 points in what was a really good game, went into overtime. But you have Jamarius Burton over 3.5 assists. This one's a no-brainer here mathematically. Jamarius Burton, he has a 29.5% assist rate on the year. That number has jumped to an absurd 47% in the last 3 games. Jamarius Burton has his hands on many of the baskets being scored across all of Pittsburgh's baskets. This game is a really high total that continues to rise. It's 146.5, and on the rise, it's continued to rise throughout the day. There's a lot pointing towards Jamarius Burton and this Pittsburgh team just being able to score a lot of points. And when that happens, Jamarius Burton likely has his hands on a lot of them. He plays a bit at the point. They'll use Nelly Cummings a lot there. And then when Jamarius Burton, his other position is primarily the 3. When he's at that position as well, they still run quite a bit of the offense through him. North Carolina on defense, they actually rank outside the top 100 in 3-point defense. They're outside the top 150 to be exact. That doesn't affect Burton quite as much. I mean, he's a good scorer, but when he has his hands on the assist game and Pitt is knocking down shots, that should only help him here. We have him projected at 4.9 assists, making it one of the better values on the board. And to close this out, just to talk a little bit about what we're doing with these lineups. We have 4 right now. If we hit these, that pays at 11x. If you wanted to add an additional one, that would be 21x, but you can play any numbers of these props up to 5 to increase your potential winnings. Just another way to take advantage of the offerings at No House Advantage. In the comment section, let me know what you think of these plays, anything else that stands out to you. You can also follow me on Twitter at Matt_Kajeski if you would like. Until next time, we will see you guys again later, and good luck.